Hi, everybody. We're in a car, as I so often am. But see, I'm in a different place in the car. How about that? So this is my friend Ann.
Hi.
Say hello, Ann. Ann is driving. So we were just talking. This is the Car Food Channel, if you did not remember that this is the case. But we're having this conversation around kind of the building of the business that I'm working on. And as you know, people who... I got to do my hair. Hang on.
I know, I feel like doing mine.
It's all kind of crazy stuff. We're on our way up to Ojai, which is a place for people who don't live in California. Like, that's a real place.
Ojai.
That's how you spell it. So you should definitely go there. This is both of our first times up there. It's very exciting. We're told that the energy is super fantastic there, and it's very beautiful.
Going to get better once we're there.
Well, obviously,
yeah.
Right. It's a good point. So, but if you've never seen the Car Food Channel before, I will just tell you, my name's Lindsay, and I am the CEO of All Well Brands, and we're in a launch this year. As part of the launch, we have the first product line that's in the national launch right now is the Munchos Raw Snack product, and it's a raw vegan snack jerky and chip line. And so part of the process of the launch here is that I am living in my car, partly because the Spirit told me to, and partly because it's a really good idea for product testing, because this is designed to be a car food, to kind of just sit with you and be with you. So, but as part of this channel, what we do is sometimes I give you recipes. Sometimes, and you saw if you posted, they were filmed by this one here. She did that for me the other day. It was fantastic help. At the Agape Center Living Foods Ministry demonstration. But then also, I share different things that are going on in the business for those of you consciouspreneurs who are in process or think you might want to start a business at some point. These are some of the processes that I go through, and some of the intentioning that I do, and disciplines that I go through as a spiritually conscious, trying, person.
There's no trying.
There's no trying. There's just doing. So
there's just being.
There's just the being. So so I'm being that. And then as part of that too, you get some of just the reflections of like what it's like to live in my car for the first time. So we're about 4 months into that. So that's just a little introduction, but we're going to actually have a fairly, maybe an extended conversation here right now. And Ann was just asking me something really cool.
Good high-level spiritual conversation coming on, Lindsay.
I do too.
Okay.
I do too. It's awesome. So Ann is fantastic. She's a new friend, and we have ended up, I realized today, I was like, I've talked to Ann every single day since we had lunch a week ago. Like
really?
that,
Oh,
it's
cool.
True. And she has not felt stalked, so I'm really excited. So I love that, because I love checking in with people and just kind of keeping up, and we're like holding each other up and so forth. So I'm really excited. She's so special, and she's such an amazing cook as well. And she's a personal coach too. And so, anyway, she was just asking me about some of the process. I was telling her I have gotten so blessed with just people coming into my life who, once I have identified sort of the needs for the business, and I don't know how to do them, but apparently it's not my job to know. It's just my job to say, okay, I'm willing and available. So you were saying, Ann.
Well, when I heard that another being dropped from the sky into Lindsay's life to help her do exactly that which she needed to do in her business next, which sounds very things to do with money and spreadsheets and
yes,
placement and things that she'll describe. I said, oh gosh, let's back up a sec and tell me if you were doing any visioning, or if you asked God for help, or if you just stumbled along and bumped into him. Give me an idea of what kind of practices you've been doing that may have, called him forth into your life.
Yeah, that's so great. This is why I love community, because like part of gratitude building is the remembering, right? Like it's all about the remembering. It's all about like not stuck in the past for like that thing happened to me and whatever, but like, wow, that just happened. Like, and just capturing it and harvesting all the pieces.
You know what it's kind of like?
Yeah.
Instead of how do I get from here to there, what we're doing is saying, oh, how did I get from there to here?
Yeah. And that's what I think community is so special for me because if I'm just doing it myself, I'm just like, okay, what's the next vision? What's the next piece of the vision? Tell me, give me the next part. I'm going to go do the next part. And yeah, but when I'm with other people, then I really do remember, and I'm like, oh, that was the story, like that was how we got from there to here. And that's really awesome. So, yeah, it's such a cool question. Thank you for asking me that. So part of what I do, some of y'all know, for the past 4 months, I started, I had been out of a meditation practice for really quite a long time, at least a few years on a regular basis. And when I did the Ramadan fast at the Agape Center with a group of about 30 people.
Is that with Reverend Cheryl?
It was with Reverend Arlene Hilton.
I'm sorry, Reverend Arlene, thank you.
Yes, who's really a
Reverend
powerhouse.
Arlene Hilton, amazing, and she does cartwheels too.
She does cartwheels. I haven't even seen that yet. That's amazing. The lady that works at my Y does cartwheels. She did cartwheels yesterday, just for fun.
Yeah,
just
I love
down the hall.
cartwheels,
I was like, wow, y'all are amazing. So anyway, yeah, Reverend Arlene Hilton, who has been described by someone who I met one day as God on crack. And like, I can't think of a better description. Like, she is amazing. So she does these 2 fasts every year, and they're both vegan fasts, and you can do them with completely living food, like raw food, or you can do them with a cooked vegan diet. And y'all know, like, I've been eating, pretty much vegan for about 8 years, maybe 9 now. I don't know, a while. And but what was interesting was that by doing that process, I would notice, like, sometimes I don't realize things that are in the food I'm eating. Occasionally that happens. And then sometimes, I'll be like, oh, I'll have a bite of that and just like to taste it. And partly it's because clients have asked me over the years, like, what happens if I eat this, if I've been eating like you for so long or whatever. So part of it's been for client information, and part of it is just like in the being thankful. This is probably part of my trans veganness, in the being thankful that my body is now so strong, and that things flow so well. Sometimes I'll like have a bite of something I don't usually have, just to like experience the contrast, and or to just be like, oh, like I'm open, and like this food is blessed, and like that's a part of my practice. And so at those moments I'm not necessarily very aware of what I'm eating, but what I found that was so interesting during the Ramadan fast, and this really started kind of this process that you're asking me about, was there were a couple of times when I would get like really like, like just wrapped around the axle, just like I couldn't like move my consciousness, and I would be doing my 2 hours of meditation in the morning, and it was like a mantra meditation using the oath of manifestation that was developed by Reverend Cheryl Ward a year or 2 ago, and I would just do that over and over for 2 hours from 6 to 8 in the morning, and I didn't like it for the first hour. It wasn't fun, and then the second hour rocked, and it was very consistent. It happened that way for me, but I was just coming back into that vibration. So but what I noticed during that 30 or 40 days of fasting that we were doing, it wasn't like fasting like we didn't eat, it was just like a fast from animal products, was that a couple of times I did have like a bite of cheese or something, and I didn't realize it till about 3 days later. And both of those times that it happened, it was so clear that I hadn't been able to shift my consciousness despite all my practicing during those times. And then I would discover, oh wait, yeah, I ate that thing a couple of days ago. And so that was very powerful for me. That was a big wake up for me. Just reminder of how powerful it was, and that if I want to operate at a level where I am willing to, invest that much of my earth time in prayer or in meditation in a day, and then, that turned into like an hour at night, sometimes 2 hours at night, sometimes I would switch it up, but like it turned into quite a big chunk of the day in time terms.
And all it took was a cheese blob to
show me,
to keep you down in this dense realm and
right.
not be able to vibrate high enough.
It's the truth, and I mean, it is. It's totally studied and so forth that that dairy sort of. We have a little traffic we're coming up upon. So
congestion. We were talking about cheese,
right,
and now we're experiencing congestion.
Right, and then it just let up now. So, but yeah, like that will. If you are a pituitary-oriented person, if you've ever seen the body type diet, you might be familiar with, like, you can look at your body type. There's like 4 different ones. This is not the blood type diet, but it's actually like a phenotypic organization of things where you can see, like, there are basically 4 different body shapes in humans, and depending on which one you have, it indicates what your dominant gland, or your dominant endocrine gland would be. So, like, for me, it's like my thyroid would be primary, and you usually have like one dominant and one kind of secondary dominant, you might say. And this was very interesting to me. It's based in Ayurveda, but it was what it showed from people who are pituitary gland dominant is that there's a type of, the way that we tend to eat, or the way that we tend to want out here, is related to sort of what we're trying to self-medicate and sort of bring back into homeostasis, our physical being. And so for people with thyroid dominant, we would want to, eat foods that are really balancing of the thyroid. So I often crave cauliflower, and that'll bring my thyroid down a bit. If I'm in a very like low thyroid space, I would eat something that would bring that up a little bit. So things like that. But the pituitary folks are the folks who kind of gather some energy and weight kind of between the belly and the hips, and those folks are, and I mean, we all do that to some degree, and you'd have to like look at the body type book to really like see this meaningfully, because I can't draw it for you right now. But the people with pituitary dominant are the people who crave cheese, and like I have never craved cheese. Now I've also had some of the best cheese on the planet, so everything else sort of pales in comparison, but I don't think that's why I don't crave cheese. So there's things like that are related, but it collects the energy around that area, around that third chakra area, and it's sort of between the second and the third. So we're talking like reproductive and just creative. So recreating, representing in a new format, and then creating sort of a new. That area is what gets blocked by eating dairy. So, yeah, that was a really powerful, important thing for me to know that I hadn't noticed before, because I wasn't trying to meditate 2 hours a day, or I hadn't noticed before because I wasn't trying to stay that connected. But this business, like, I've got to stay really, really connected, or it doesn't, like, nothing happens. Like, only chaos happens. So, and there are those moments sometimes, but we're moving into other places all the time. More and more peaceful, more and more harmonious, more and more kind of aligned. So that's one thing that was a big discovery that I've paid a lot of attention to. And then over the past few months, what I've found, I've been trying to hire, kind of my right hand person who has some experience in some pretty, I mean, not humongous, like have to be corporate administration, but like, decent small to mid-size administrative background, and who's, listening and connected and visioning, and somebody with some kind of food background, so that they could oversee kind of operations of that and understand what some of the food service requirements are and that kind of thing. So as part of that, there have been several people that I've felt like might be good fits for that role, and some of them really wanted it, and something weird would happen, and they couldn't do it with that timing, and then with a few, they sort of thought they might be interested but hadn't like pursued it, and then with a few, there's been like a few offers that I've made more formally, and then something like really impressive would come up for them that would be really compelling, and they would go do that. So as I've been trying to listen through that, but it is, there have been many days where I'm just like, well, but I need somebody, like I really do, like there's only so many hours, and as something I do very actively is I do vision, and that's a very natural thing for me to do. But I really appreciate the way that Reverend Michael, we both go to the Agape Center, so we'll talk like that a little bit, that Reverend Michael's steps are for visioning are very much like what I natively do myself, but it gives me a little bit of structure so that I know I'm doing it and being intentional about it. And the first step is really just sort of opening and meditating and basically just saying, I'm available. And then, kind of asking the question, what is, the highest good for me and everybody involved, and everybody, because everybody's involved, in whatever it is. If I want to focus on a particular thing, I can. If not, I just say, more often than not, I just say, okay, like, what's the highest? What does that look like? Well, and then what would be my role in it? What do I need to do in order to have that? What do I need to release that's currently holding on in order to be that in the world, to embody that in the world? And then what do I already have going on right now that I could activate right now? Like, what am I already good at? What I don't need to take another class. I don't need to get another prayer partner. I don't need to learn anything else on that, but what can I just go with? Because we believe in the now. So our training and our discipline is very much about
so you don't sit and wait for everything to fall into place and then step into it.
Right.
You actually know that it is already there.
Yeah.
And you're stepping into it as if you see it already there, as if people are at their desks or people are in the kitchen cooking, and the guys, you imagine it's already there, and you step into it and you do whatever you possibly can, knowing that it's all there, and then bam, the guy appears.
The guy appeared.
Yeah.
So it's been absolutely like that, and what I also did, I knew that when you create role descriptions, you are narrowing yourself a bit, you're defining, okay, bring it to me this way, rather than just saying, okay, well, I need social media taken care of, whether that means I become a guru at it in the next 5 minutes, or whether it means we bring somebody else in. Maybe it means I pay them. Maybe it means we have some trade. I don't know. But when you create a role description, you are defining that a little bit for the universe. I want it this way. So I was aware of that.
But it also makes sense, because for people like me who was reading the job description, it's like I needed to read that to see whether I had what it took to step up to that plate. So I could see what you're saying about on your end, how it might limit things, but for the person that's actually considering the job, they need to kind of see some of those buzzwords to go, oh yeah, I'm great at that, or oh no, I don't have that capacity yet.
Yeah, totally. And so it's an important communication tool. It just can't be the only thing, right? So it's like, okay, universe, I'm making this. This is one tool. Feel free to give me something else. So I did that, but then I also had this wonderful conversation with the cook that is, I think, will be a formal hire any minute here in the next couple of days, who I'm really excited about, and he's just such a blessing, and he's a wonderful presence, and he's very detailed, and really he hasn't ever trained people before, but I feel like he's very gifted at that. He has all the skill sets that you would need natively in order to be a really phenomenal trainer, and he's learning the business from the ground up, and he's available, his spirit's available, his heart is available, and his brain is available to learn it. And so I'm really excited, and he has another job, and so in the slower production period that we're in right now, just because we're still getting our grasp of what the schedule is, that's not a hardship for him, so it's really lovely. And so he has
now, just to be clear, right now you're talking about the guy that you have in the kitchen cooking.
That's correct.
Right, okay.
Yes. Thank you. And so he's in there, and the reason I bring him up in this conversation is that since I had the 2 roles in mind, I was like, well, I need to hire a cook, and I need to hire, a kind of an administrator and, person who can deal with the social media, and like a computer person, kind of thing. And somebody who can kind of supervise and do bookkeeping and stuff. And, but when he and I drove to get some potatoes the other day, we needed to go buy more potatoes. And we usually have those on hand, but they were getting older and we got new ones. And as we're talking, I was telling him that one of the ladies that I thought I was going to hire also as a cook and who wanted to learn more about the business, I said she wasn't going to be coming. She was still kind of exploring what she wanted to do, and she wanted to keep looking. And it's like, oh, okay. And so I said to him, never feel pressured. Like, it's my responsibility to let you know about opportunities in the company, but like never feel pressured to say yes to something that doesn't feel good. I just wanted to let you know, like, that these are some needs that we have. And so I shared with him kind of some of the things that she and I had talked about doing, and that there, was kind of a list, the working of different things that needed to be done. And he was like, oh, that's really neat. That's so interesting. And, I mentioned that she wanted to own her own business someday. And he said, oh, yeah, me too. And I was like, oh, well, I didn't know that. And I've asked him a lot of times, like, what he's into, what he really wants and stuff. But it's so rare that people ask you that, or that they really, really want to know, or that if they do want to know, that they can even vision it with you, even if you have it worked out in your head. So, people generally give you that information a little bit at a time. So I was like, oh, well, if this is something you'd like to learn, don't feel obligated, like you're not in trouble if you don't want to do that part. But if you do, like, I'd love for you to step into that. That would be really amazing. It would also be helpful, like, just from a pay perspective, he doesn't have either background and she didn't either. But they had like the right heart and the right learning, things going on in their head. And I was like, oh, well, this would help me like pay you a little more too, because for that part of the work, a trainee would receive, it would be a different like arrangement, a little different trade. So there's that opportunity now. And since we're not doing full-time production right this minute, I had kind of felt bad when I found out that I was going to be doing this work with this financial guy, this consultant, and we had discussed, okay, we probably do want to kind of just not plan on full-time production right now. Maybe it'll be full-time production, maybe not, but just while we get this thing together for the next couple of weeks, maybe we won't do that. But I'm cognizant of, employee needs and money and whatever. And so when I was telling my assistant this, I said, there are some things that I need done right now that are administrative, and they would really be great ways for you to learn. Like, I didn't even know how to do them, and I know now, but I just don't quite have time to do them. So, and I'm not super gifted at doing them, and mostly, like, since I am in the car, things that require paperwork, like printing wise and stuff, just it turns into a whole thing. I got to go to a place to print, just stuff like that. So I'm like, yeah, if you wanted to do this from your house, or if you wanted to go up to the office, he lives right by our kitchen, whereas I'm like an hour away from the kitchen in usual traffic. So I'm like, I'm not going to come. We do have office facilities that we get to use at the kitchen, which is really awesome, such a blessing. But I'm not going to drive all the way over there to do that. But he lives 10 minutes away from the kitchen, so it would be convenient for him. So something that I had to really like step into was just like, okay, like 2 days before, I'd been like, okay, like, I don't know what you're doing here. I don't know any of this. But I know that this guy who showed up, the consultant guy, is saying everything that I need done without me saying it. And he's, asking the right questions, and I'm a good enough business person to know a lot of the things that I don't know.
So now you're talking about this guy, the administrative guy.
They're both
switched over from.
Yeah. So, well, I was switching back actually. Okay. I was trying. So, I mean, I had to step into, okay, my assistant is going to be like doing some of it. Like, he's going to be the person. So I don't need 2 people. I do need just one person who has like the interest and the wherewithal,
Great.
and the dependability. Yeah, so he's going to be doing this, and I'm really excited. And probably because he hasn't really had that opportunity before either in the kind of work that he's done. And so it's super, like, that's the whole point. Like, a day before, I had been, like, making an inventory about, okay, let's get back to what I'm really good at. What are you really good at? I'm really good at mentoring people. I'm really good at working with young people who haven't had a lot of opportunity yet, or who are trying to figure stuff out. I'm really good at visioning. I'm really good at, going in and speaking. I'm really good at writing. Like, these are things. And I've known, and this is where my discomfort has been for the past few weeks, I have known, kept being nagged, the spirit nag thing, that where you just, you're getting the thing, but you can't see how to do it, and you're not quite, at the point yet where you can just step right into it. I've been kind of there with, Ojai has been one of these places. Like, I've known that I needed to go to Ojai. I didn't know why. And I knew that I needed some Hawaii energy as well, but I was like, well, I'm not going to Hawaii right now that I know of. And it was feeling a little bigger than me, but I was like, I feel like it's in Ojai, and I know I'm supposed to go to Ojai, but I don't know why yet. And I feel like I need to look at farms up that way, but I thought Ojai was this really expensive place, so I didn't know. That's what I hear in LA. But also Oxnard had been in my mind. Oxnard is another place near Ojai.
I'm actually going up to Oxnard in a couple weeks.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
If you want to come.
I would love to come. Okay, so then we've got Oxnard covered. So these have been very specifically in my mind, even though I don't know anything about either place. And then the people who sell me my citrus fruit, that farm, helped me carry some stuff to my car the other day, and they said, he said he's got a friend opening a big, kind of a co-op kitchen or several kitchens in a building kind of thing, kind of like what I'm in, in Oxnard or in Ventura or something. And
Oxnard is in Ventura County.
Okay, yeah. So I was like, wow, well, keep me up on that, would you? Because I was already feeling that, but I didn't know where it was coming from. So it's a pretty constant, what should I be doing now? Questioning that I'm doing. But even when I'm really clear that stuff's pulling in, or Lindsay, you need to go take 2 days off, or, something like that, I'm still learning how to activate that and go do it.
Is it a matter of trusting it?
I think it must be.
Yeah,
I think it must
that's
be.
what comes up for me. It's just wow, can I trust that? It's well, that's what I'm learning how to do, is to say yes to a day off, or to say yes to a morning of writing at the cafe, to say yes to helping somebody out, to say yes to somebody who's been needing rides lately, I've been giving them rides.
Yeah.
And then see, and so far everything's working out great.
Right.
It's I got $10 in here I got from giving somebody a ride.
Woo woo.
Hey, isn't it nice,
Go buy frilly socks with that. Yeah, I think it is, and it's funny you say that, because I have, I kind of just realized it in a certain sense. Because, that usually it's a trust thing. Whatever's going on, usually it's a trust thing, right? But as I was realizing the logistics of how deeply I had been trying to manage my time, and I was, trying to be a good steward, and trying to, not run the other way from production, even though I was feeling really called into the writing and called into the going up to see these other farms and so forth. I thought that was just, my fear thing. I thought it was just well, I'm having some static over here, I'm not sure what to do, so I'm running the other way. And so I'm still learning to trust that it's not that, even. Because I don't want to be, moving from a fear place, but I do, I think I kind of laughed when it finally came to me the other day. It was just a few days ago, and I was like, whoa, I've been not going to Ojai, or not going to the park and turning the phone off and meditating or whatever, because the thing that's gone on in my head is, but what if, fill in the blank, whoever calls, whoever that I'm kind of waiting for, or thinking they're going to give me information or whatever, what if that person calls and can't reach me? Well, all that does is keeps me on the
5 minutes.
No, 5 hours. Yeah, let's be real with how long I'm at the park. But Yeah, but like what I realized finally, but this is the first time in my whole life I've probably ever realized this. Like, Spirit's got this.
Yeah.
Like, it's all good. Like, they're not going to call till I'm available if I put that out.
Yeah, there's no wasted energy.
There's no wasted,
yeah.
right? There's just none. And it's just like the other day, it was such clockwork the way that, I mean, you offered to do some of this for me, this videoing of the recipes, and then I call, you know, CJ, who's my other friend who I, you know, just barely know, but she's like, oh yeah, I am coming, and I've been wanting to introduce her to Agape too, because like she lives in kind of a more, she lives in that world, but she doesn't have like other people to do it with, and so for her to have a community around that, I think is probably pretty hard to imagine, because before you see the whole community, you're like, I don't know, I think I'm maybe the only one. So I wanted to introduce her to Agape, and then she makes this beautiful offering of like using her gifts and talents, you know, without any fee to me, you know, just like, I'm going to film your thing for you.
And I was relieved because I'm not a filmmaker.
And you're not a filmmaker, and she
I
is.
just offered to help in any way I could.
And it was amazing because
So
I really
we
kind
had
of wanted
somebody
both.
who really did the close-up filming, and all I did was just like set the computer there and uploaded it. And I learned how to upload to YouTube, which
And
was
it's-
helpful to me.
Right, and it is easy to do if you like do it a few
Yeah.
times, you know? Yeah, so like everybody won. And the same thing, like a couple of days surrounding that, it was just like, okay, I've got all these random things that I need to get done, but I haven't been, because I grew up in a place that like you got to drive a lot to get anywhere, in Dallas, I kind of, like, I traditionally have hated errands. And even when I lived in little tiny towns after that, when like you could get like 10 errands done in like an hour and a half, I still would put them off for like weeks, just weeks. And so here we have to time them a little bit because like there's either no traffic or there's like really traffic. But
There's either traffic, lots of traffic, or complete total stop traffic.
well, see, I know all the pockets though.
Okay, good.
Because I go to all these different neighborhoods,
Yeah.
and so I know like kind of how to work it. But you know, like there's windows of time, and so it has been like this really mind blowing. I feel so free now. Number one, from this like consultant showing up who knows. I was like, okay, God, like I had this wonderful person from Agape a few weeks ago look at my business plan. He said, nuh-uh, this is not it. And I was like, great, like what do I do instead? And he's like, this is how people are wanting it now. And he kind of took me through, and we were kind of in a really meditative place about it. He channels and stuff, and so like he knows things. But I was like, okay, I didn't know exactly what he was talking about for sure when I left, but I was like, I'm going to go write it right now. Because I'm just going to capture it, like I'm going to keep the energy thread, and I'm just going to write. So for 6 hours, I sat in my car and wrote, and then I sent it to him. And he wrote me back straight away. It was like a Friday night. He was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Awesome.
That's what he said. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And so he was like, now keep going and do the financials and this and that. And, but my original financials he had felt were too detailed. And so I was like, well, how do I like keep going and make those but not get like bogged down, you know? And what I realized was that I was like, I'm not sure if I'm the person to do this part, because I don't know how many grocery stores there are in America. I don't know how many units of my product we would be planning on selling, you know, like in good faith, you know, like I know projections are just like, we make things up based on the assumptions we can, but still, like, you know, if the assumptions are all crap, then, you know, that's no good. So I really wanted the projections to be in integrity, but I was just like, I've been just kind of sitting on it for about like close to 3 weeks now, and I was just like, I just don't know, and, you know, but I was like, this is what I know I need.
Oh, look. Sorry to interrupt, but Oxnard, for the
Oxnard.
next 5 exits.
Woo,
So
woo!
that to get to Oxnard,
We go this way.
I forget when we started, but it's whatever time it's been and however many miles we've gone.
Right.
61 miles.
I bet we could look at a map and
Yeah.
now.
Anyway, thanks.
Yeah. So I did know, you know, I knew some of the things that were needed, and then I was like, The rest of it, I don't know. I just need somebody to know more than me right now. And so I guess it's like finally relaxing into like the ache, like the prayer I wrote the other day for our class. We're in the prayer class together. It's awesome. But the prayer I wrote talked about like the divine ache, like trusting the divine ache. And I think Barbara DeAngelis calls it divine discomfort. That when we start knowing like our consciousness has jumped here, and now we're like looking at all the stuff that happens to not be like disappeared yet from our from our existence, and we're like, oh, you know, it like hurts the body sometimes, you know. And so it was like that. It was really deep. And as soon as I saw that couple of days that had just gone boom, 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 and I'm in the right place every time. I've got 5 different things going on, 3 different people to coordinate with, and they're like, oh, can you meet me at this time at this place? And I'm like, that's exactly where I'm going to be. We're in LA, y'all. Like, that's not God, okay? So, yes, and it just went like that and went like that. And so I've really anchored to that and just been like, okay, God, I get it. I get that I really don't even have to do the details. I don't have to stop. It really is.
The how is not up to you.
No. And like none of the planning, and like if I don't know, just go do the one thing I know. If all I know to do that day is meditate and I don't know anything else, that's okay. And like it's all going to be fine. So it's really powerful right now. So the visioning is one, being in prayer is a lot. The way that my morning routine is right now, I wake up at 5. Some days I have a prayer partner. Some days I don't, because she has another prayer partner, like alternate days. So I pray with her Tuesday and Thursday at 5:15. But the agreement is that like we'll be like sentient at 5:15 when we pray together. So we'll be like already grounded and awake pretty much. So we do pretty good at that.
My prayer partner and I talk at 8:10.
Is that all right? 8:10, yeah. Not 8:11, not 8:09.
Well, not 5.
Not 5. That's the important takeaway. Not 5. Yeah, so we go at 5, and then on the days that I don't pray with her, I try to get up anyway, because one of the practices is also writing my 3 pages. So in the artist way and in other, things, people say like, the more you write, the more you can write, so, but also just, my practitioner leader in our class, had recommended, just to kind of get all the staticky out of my head, just go ahead and like write 3 pages. Like, doesn't have to be like anything at all, just like dump it. First thing in the morning. And she said a lot of the practitioners at Agape do that. Just first thing in the morning, just put it on there before you even meditate. Like, go to the bathroom, then do the 3 pages. Like, that's it. And so I've done some of that, and that's really good for me to do in the dark. And so at 5 it's dark in the car, and I've got a little while before anybody's up, and so I try to do that. Sometimes it ends up at other times of the day, but it's still a good practice that I'm trying to get through as often as I can. And then, but there are some days when I fall asleep. So, but either way, the 5 o'clock wake up is important for me, because a really big part of my staying connected to the whole divine intelligence that I am, and that is available at all times, is the keeping all the fabric really tight between like the spirit world and like the physical format. And for me, if I wake up at 5, totally dark, everybody's energy is still in that space, in that spirit world, I'm not even like able to speak, but now I'm like knowing that I'm not even available to speak, and I'm shoving myself into the physical world at that time, and I'm making myself say a word like out loud, and all I'm managing to say so far is I'm grateful, and it will pull me out just a little bit from the non-physical into the physical, that then I can pull a few more words, and it will turn into a prayer. And sometimes I fall asleep for like 10 seconds, and then I wake back up, and I'm like, I'm grateful, like do it again. But for me, I'm training myself to keep tethered between the two. And so that's really powerful. right now.
When I wake up, I say, "Hi, God, it's me."
Oh, that's so fun! Yay! Yeah, so I'm doing that, and so a lot of days I'll stay up, and it really is best. Like, my days go really smooth and like best when I start at 5. They do. But then after that, I'll have some kind of like, I'll doodle or write or like gratitude list or something. And then at 7, I do the daily prayer call with a bunch of people. That's like a conference call thing. And then 7:15 to 7:30, I kind of center back in myself. And then at 7:30, I pray with my prayer partner from our class. And then at 7:45 or 7:50, whenever we get done, then I call somebody else who wanted an additional prayer partner. And so we pray. Usually, and these have kind of been, they've been a little bit long actually for probably what we're supposed to do for the class. But anyway, we pray for 15 or 20 minutes.
That's a lot of prayer with people. That's
with
really
people.
amazing.
It's like an hour of prayer with people, like every single day, pretty much. And so I'm really blessed because like I've been feeling that ache for a long time. Like I've wanted that for a long time. So like having an hour sort of just with the spirit world, and I'm like asking for like cloaks over me and different things. I'm like working with light and stuff from 5 to 6, and then 6 to 7 I'm kind of writing. 7 to 8 is kind of like with people. And then 8 to 10, I try to keep open in the morning for anything that might pop up. So sometimes it's like a business thing that I'll go do from like 9 to 10 if something's come up in meditation or there's some urgent thing. But 8 to 10, I try to keep I go to the park. Oh, I do have a new practice actually. I have the laughter yoga that I'm doing now. And they do it 4 times a day, and it's a international call. Like you can call in, it's free. And I laugh with other people for 20 minutes.
Oh, that's what it is. You're not actually doing yoga positions. You're laughing.
You're not doing asanas. Unless you're like in the room. Now they do like a little bit of breath work. Some of the people do breath work. And we might do like some stretching a little bit.
But it's really about laughing.
It's laughing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And that's where I met Gary. That's where I met this consultant that I'm using.
That's where you met Gary.
This is where I met the consultant dude.
Well, that is so awesome.
It's amazing, and he had never been before.
And what led you to go to Laughing Yoga that day that you went? What led you to go?
Yeah, what led me to go was that 2 days before I had like my body gets a little bit crunched up sleeping in the car. Some of that. So I'm starting to notice some some lesser flexibility than I have had, but I haven't done yoga in 9 months because I moved over to doing some strength work at a place that I thought had good yoga, but then I haven't really liked their classes too much, and so it's
seeing a sign for Ojai, so I'm going to take it.
Okay, do it.
I'm going to follow the signs for Ojai.
Yay.
Okay.
We've got signs all around for Ojai today. So, so I had stopped doing the yoga. And not really intentionally, but then when I, moved into the car, I was like, well, I don't need another place to go for an hour, another errand during the day. And I knew I was going to be launching, and I was like, okay, I'm going to just let that be for right now. And I just go to the gym. But I had decided about a week or 2 ago that I wanted to get back into yoga. But I hadn't like made the commitment or like really set the intention, And so a few days ago, I was like, 2 days before I went to Laughter Yoga, I was like, okay, I'm going to yoga now. That's happening. As often as it's offered, that is, a donation or free, opportunity. Right now, I'm going. And so I've committed to that. So I went last Wednesday before service with Eitan, who's like guru of the universe. I just love practicing with him.
Eitan was at the New Year's retreat in Joshua Tree. He's
my
wonderful.
God, he's so amazing. I love him. And I mean, it's just like, it's like doing it with all the ascended masters at one time. It's like that kind of yoga. And so I did that. And then there was the laughter yoga opportunity the next day. And I had known about it for a long time. I had no idea what it was, but I was like, laughing in yoga. Like, how wrong could this go? And so I was like, well, you committed to going to yoga every time it's available, and unless you know that your body doesn't work with that teacher or whatever. So I was like, okay, then I'm going. And actually that night I was working out in the car by the parking lot, And I was like really in it. I was like in the zone and enjoying the work and whatever. But I was like, oh, hate to tear away, but I committed to going, and I'm going. And so I walk in, and every single person there had never been there before.
Wow.
I mean, Agape has like 10,000 members, y'all, so like that's a big deal. And there were like 5 of us to start, but by the end of it, there were like 15 of us. Like, people kept coming in, and in fact, somebody who had a really like actually came in crying, actually came into the building crying,
wow.
and wasn't even going to come in to the room, but she was just standing at the door. And then she finally did come in, and it was so powerful. You know, like the way that person shows up, I see her showing up all the time. Like, she has a lot of stuff that I know that she's working through, but like to show up like that, I've never shown it up at a place like that and said, yes, I'm going to engage in a class with you people. Like, that was powerful. So, so I met him there, and yeah, and like he had never done laughter yoga either at all. And, you know, he had a shirt on that was interesting. It said I am, and it had this really interesting mandala on it. But I've literally never asked anyone what their shirt said. But I asked him at the end because it said, I am enlightened something on that 4th line. And I didn't know what it was on 3rd line. But what I had noticed during the laughing was that the word kept changing on the bottom. Like, really, I was manifesting a different word. And so then I was getting confused, and I was thinking, well, I'm just seeing it wrong or whatever. But I was seeing like really all different words, like different sizes words and everything, and all really powerful words. And I can't even remember what the actual word is because I've seen so many words on that shirt. But I asked him, because as I was talking to him at the end, I was like, I could see just enough of the shadow of the word that I knew that it wasn't the prior word that I had seen on it. And so I asked him, and as we got to talking, that was one of the businesses that he was associated with, that he's helped. And he was like, yeah, I'm in, you know, wellness, you know, business launches and development, this kind of thing. And I was like, oh, well, that's what I do, you know. And so that's how it happened. That's how we found each other. And we talked for an hour, and it's like 10:30 at night when we're leaving, and I was like, well, you know, I don't want to, you know, I never know, like, you know, what people charge to consult and all these things. And and as a consultant myself, like, I really want to be respectful of, you know, people's time and so forth. But I was like, well, I don't know if, like, we could get together and maybe, you know, I didn't know if he even worked with people like me, you know, I don't know. And, but he was like, well, yeah, how about tomorrow?
Excellent.
And I was like, well, that'd be amazing. What time? You know, and like we work out a time, and it's like the perfect time. And then he got scooped into he works with or is starting a company that is all conscious filmmaking. It's a media group that will distribute all conscious films. And he got a call from somebody that he knew who was working with Abigail Disney, and she has a new film that's in that space, and she was in town, and the guy didn't even know that my guy was in town. He thought he was in New York, but he is in LA. So they all met up, and so we switched to the next day so that he could meet with her. But yeah, we just had a wonderful conversation the next day, and then I was like, well, yeah, this looks really good. Can you send me, you know, a proposal? And so he sent me the proposal right on time and whatever, and I was like, yes, I have questions about this and this, and we went through that, had a drink, and signed the contract, and did the check, and now he's working on it.
Wow.
And I'm going to Ohio. But like immediately after I talked to him, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so taken care of.
Yes.
Like, it didn't even have to, like, even if it had taken like a month for us to like connect,
yeah,
I would still be like, I don't have to be afraid for my business. I don't have to be afraid of production.
Like that's like in our prayers, you know,
right.
we know it's already done.
Right.
You know, and that's what's so cool, that feeling that you know you're already taken care of.
Yeah.
Is there before it even manifests in this realm.
Yeah.
In form.
Yeah.
That's great. Yay!
So it's really fun.
Cool.
Yeah. We're almost to Ojai, y'all. It's going to be so exciting. Do you want to see it? You want to see Ojai? This is what's going on over here. Can y'all see it? There's a lot of mountains. We have a lot of mountains here.
If
you haven't been to California.
Casitas Vista, which is
okay.
like the view from the house.
Right.
House view.
Not a bad view, I'd say. If we were in my car, it would be the view from the house. We're in Ann's car right now.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Okay, I'm going to sign off right now.
Bye.
I have another conversation coming on.
Good.
So we'll do it separately. Okay, bye.
Bye.